Today we're reviewing the experimental Marin El Roy. So this isn't an experimental bike. I've just been experimenting with it and I've changed some things. If you haven't seen that video yet, go check it out. This is the final ride review of the bike and we're taking it on Highline Trail because it's one of the few trails here that's steep enough to get this bike into the territory it's meant for. If you haven't already seen it, check out my first ride video of this where I ride it in totally stock form. This is not a technical climber. This is a fire road winch up the trail climber. This bike feels like all the controls are in the right place and the wheels are in the wrong place. Feels like the wheels 6 inches ahead of you and the back wheel's 6 inches behind you. I've never ridden a bike this wild feeling. It feels totally foreign. All right, this is the hardest part of the climb. I was able to clean this on the Hanzo ESC, no problem. Man, you feel the weight of this bike. This bike is what, 34 pounds, I think? Oop, didn't make that. Man, I'm really struggling to balance on this bike at slow speeds. I'm just on the verge of falling over all the time. All right, made that. Nope. This bike's a handful. It is a lot of bike. Normally this is no problem, but between the weight and the crazy geometry, I'm just fighting this every inch on this climb. Whereas that Hanzo ESD was so controlled, despite having the same head tube angle. I like aggressive bikes, but there's a limit to when a bike is a one-trick pony, and I'm thinking this bike's probably a one-trick pony. So Matt and I just traded bikes for a little bit. This is an XL Ripmo V2. It felt smaller than that to me. All right, we're comparing wheelbases between a Ripmo V2 XL. Like, yeah, that's our straight stick we're using.
Very straight. It's a stick of straightness.
All right, let's check the back now. I think the Marin's a centimeter longer.
Yeah, that's good.
That is crazy.
Going.
So that puts it into perspective. The regular has about the same wheelbase as an XL Ripmo V2. All right, let's talk about the changes I made. I definitely like the shorter cranks with that steep seat angle. It didn't completely solve it, and this is the first time I've ever felt a seat tube angle was steeper than I wanted. I just feel on top of the bottom bracket when I'm pedaling. Man, that front wheel is so far out there. All right, here's a tricky technical switchback that I didn't get. It's been a long time since I've goofed this one up. Nope. Man, this bike making me feel like a rookie on this trail. So I like my changes. I like the longer stem. The front wheel's not lifting now. That dissector back there rolls a lot faster. It doesn't feel quite so slow. It's still not a fast bike though, and it's heavy and you feel that. This could never be my only bike. Look at this thing, it just looks angry sitting still. That is a tough looking bike. I love the thin seat stays. I love the sparkle paint. I think it looks super rad, especially with that red color combo with the fork. It is a sharp looking bike. So I like the 50 mil stem on it. It makes my effective top tube a little longer, my reach a little longer, but it controls the front end. It keeps the front end down. It doesn't want to lift on the climbs as much, and it doesn't feel quite as floppy in the front. I'm really liking the shorter cranks. I feel like I can spin a lot better circles on this than when I had the 175s on there. And I'm really liking the dissector rear tire. That is helping a ton to keep momentum flowing through stuff, even on the ups. Now we're gonna point it downhill on Highline, one of my all-time favorite trails. This trail is a handful on a hardtail, but I think it's gonna be real stable on this thing with the long wheelbase, that slack heading, all that long reach. It should be super planted. Let's find out. Thank you. Man, everyone's hiking this the other way today. So this thing is happier when it's pointed downhill like that. Yeah, this thing feels pretty neutral. I like it so far. This isn't crazy steep yet. It's just kind of flowy, smooth. And it's not too technical. Oh yeah, this is way quicker than before with this tire on. And it feels pretty good on long sweepers. Not a stiff frame, feels pretty good. It's so nice to be able to actually feel what it feels like with that faster tire. Yeah, it gets airborne. Now it's coming alive. This thing wants speed and steep. That was fun. Yeah, it felt great actually. Really great. Surprised me because it was such a struggle on the up, but man, that really came alive right there. Nice. This thing is planted, even on the chunk. It's surprisingly easy to loft that front wheel too, off little ledges. Even though the chain stays a little longer than I'm used to on a lot of bikes. Oh yeah, this thing is coming alive. I don't love it on slower tech. But man, the faster it goes, the better it feels. Oh yeah, that long wheelbase really comes into play there. That's so nice. Yeah, this thing's great on this stuff. Super in control. All right, so I'm surprised. I'm loving this bike more than I thought on this trail. This isn't a particularly high speed trail for most of it. Man, it's so planted. It's so good on this stuff. I still feel a little more in control on the Hanzo ESD. This feels like a little too much bike for me. A little too much wheelbase. It feels more like a sled than a nimble bike I can place wherever I want. Kind of a plow and hang on and see what happens bike. It's happiest in the steep and its speed. Not a good blue trail or green trail bike. It wants blacks and double blacks. Into the chute. Ooh, that is dusty and loose. Ooh, lost it, had to dab there. This is awful, holy cow. Man, my front end just bouncing everywhere. Woo! No riding it fast today, it's in bad shape. The adrenaline is pumping. Dang it.
Hardtail party?
You got it. What's up? We ran into Coleman from Envy.
What's up?
He sent me the stem and the fork that we're testing on the middle child right now.
Yeah.
Good place to meet people.
Yeah, for sure. Right on the sketchiest part of Island.
For sure, man. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's white knuckle in it. This trail is in awful shape right now. This fork's diving a little more than I like. I need another volume spacer. This bike's in control though. Every time I say that, it gets a little out of control. Whew. So I'm gonna be honest, I am a little bit out of control more than normal right now. Kind of bouncing a little. I'm full of adrenaline for some reason. This trail is hammered today. It rains so bad. Oh, that fork is diving. I need a lot more volume spacers than stock. Wow, we did it. We survived a few dabs. This bike wants to go fast, not necessarily slow, steep tech. So my Banshee Paradox, my RSD middle child, the Kona Hanzo ESD, all felt easier to manage on that stuff. They all climb better too, but even on the slow techie downs, they did better than this did. Now this thing really came alive when it opened up and had some speed. This thing is cool. I do think it's a bit of a one-trick pony, but if those are what your trails are fast, just bombing roads, and you're anti-full suspension, this could be a cool setup for you. So in the chute and on the really steep stuff, the front end was stuttering. I don't know if that was a fork setting or what, but it would kind of get hung up and not want to push through the bumps. That was scary. Okay, so I think we finally found where this bike excels, and it's on super fast downhill terrain. It was a bit of a handful in the chute there and at the slow choppy stuff where you're braking and there's repeated bumps. Any hardtail's bad at that, but this one, it's so long, I felt the front locking up a little and then the back locking up a little. It's been a long time since I've dabbed in there, and I had a lot of dabs today. All right, so this is the type of stuff where this bike comes alive. Wide open, fast downhills. Hello. Thank you. There's about 7 of us. Okay. And if we're honest, this is probably terrain you should be on a full suspension on. It's not ideal on a hardtail. Totally doable, but not ideal. And these holes have gotten big. Holy cow! Woo! This bike's a little too long for me. The front wheel's far enough ahead of me that it's a handful when I'm on the steep stuff. Hey guys, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day. So yeah, a lot of the terrain where this bike really comes alive is probably terrain you'd be better off on a full suspension. I know I'd be faster and more in control on a full suspension on this stuff, but it's still very rideable and fun on this. Thanks, you're fine. Sedona's getting busy. Real hard to get bikes up to speed. Thanks, you guys. Happy New Year. There's 7 of us. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.
Yeah, it's getting busy. You can't just unleash and go as fast as possible. Oh, that was a lunge to get up that. It feels like a big, long sled. And for the right trails, it's gonna really come alive, but it's such a small, narrow set of trails where this really shines. Thank you. Have a great day. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I feel like there's such a small range of trails where this can really shine that it's probably not the right bike for most people. Okay, this is pretty scary, having a light front wheel on this sandy stuff. Oh yeah, how did I do that on this? It's all the dissector on the back. Oh man, that really surprised me. Yeah, that front wheel's so far out in front of you, it's almost unweighted on big steep steps. So I've actually been skidding the front tire, which is wild. Yeah, they got them both. Yeah. It's been a long time since I got both of those climbs. Well done, Marin. All right, it's time to wrap this up. I know I was harsh on this on the climbs. I don't have shuttles here. I don't have chairlifts to haul me to the top. I have to pedal up everything, and in Sedona, it's technical. So this isn't the right Sedona bike. However, on Highline, it really showed me what it was capable of, especially the upper third. This bike has a single purpose in life, and it is to fly down fast downhills. Now, I feel like if it gets too steep, it actually gets in over its head just a little bit. And if it's too technical and chunky, it gets a little in over its head. But like A-line on Whistler, man, this thing would just come alive. Fast, flowy, jumpy stuff. It does okay in the chunk, but I don't like the steep, repeated chunk. The front wants to skid and the back wants to skid because that wheelbase is just so long. I'm 5'6", and I'm in the recommended range for a size regular. And to be honest, the bars and saddle and cranks were all in the right position. It's just the wheels feel further away from you. You'd think that would result in a super planted in the bike feel, but it honestly just kind of felt like a long, awkward, cumbersome bike until the speed picked up. Then once the speed picked up, my eyes were open and I'm like, I get it. I get what this bike is meant for. If you get one of these, definitely swap out that rear tire. That sticky double down Assegai was a boat anchor on this, just dragging it down. It would never pick up speed. The Dissector's a good choice. Even a regular Assegai would be fine, but that double down was just so heavy and overdamped and slow. It's too bad because a lot of people are gonna ride this and never get to feel its full potential until they experiment. So I always recommend you experiment with your bikes. Shorter cranks were a good setup. All of the changes I made were for the better. None of them, I wouldn't go back on any of the other ones. And it seems weird to put a longer stem on a bike that's already got a long reach, but it really calmed it down. It kept me over the front. It helped a lot. So I'm climbing. I'm not gonna rate this bike because it's not meant for climbing. Descending, fast blues and blacks, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Descending double blacks, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It got stuttery on it, and the long wheelbase was actually a little bit of a hindrance. I felt more in control on the Hanzo ESD or my Banshee Paradox V3 or my RSD Middle Child Tie. Those bikes were more controllable in the steep, really awkward stuff where you need balance. I have a hard time balancing on this bike unless it's moving real quick. That said, it's been super fun to see what Marin can do when they really push the boundaries. This is like the grim donut of hardtails. It's super slack, super long, super steep seat tube, and with a few tweaks that I made to it, it's actually quite rideable in the right terrain. I think the biggest problem is most people don't have that kind of terrain where they're gonna be riding the bike 90% of the time. I'm glad this bike exists, but it's not the right bike for me to own, especially as a one quiver bike. This is not a quiver killer. This is for the people that are hardcore hardtail fans that will only ride a hardtail and never ride a full suspension and want to prove to their friends that they can keep up on the fast bike park days, and this bike will do it. Thanks for watching. There's a party in the mountains and you're invited.